Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're tackling a genuinely massive question about global supply chains. Why exactly is this company seeing such explosive, sustained growth? We're talking about a true global powerhouse here, one that touches literally everything from the car in your driveway to the food on your table. So, we're going to completely deconstruct their blueprint for success, using their very own strategic reports and hard data. Here is the agenda for today. We're kicking things off with record financials, then we'll look at their philosophy of success. From there, we'll unpack the Thailand Plus One strategy, followed by a Laos production deep dive. Then we zoom out for expanding in Africa, and we'll wrap the whole thing up with the future of growth. All right, Section 1. Record financials, a new high for Toyota Tsusho. Let's just jump right into the hard numbers, because let's be real, you can't truly understand a company's momentum without checking the balance sheet first. 215.1 billion yen. It's a staggering number, isn't it? Just to put that into perspective, that is their consolidated operating profit for just the fiscal year ending in March 2019. And the crazy part? That was a massive 17.8% jump from the year prior. This wasn't some lucky fluke. It was actually part of a completely record-breaking earnings streak that ran for 3 consecutive years. And the gross profit for that same year? A towering 638.4 billion yen. So the big takeaway here is that we're looking at an organization operating at absolute peak financial performance. And they did this despite some pretty heavy global economic slowdowns in places like Europe and China at the time. So how exactly did they pull these massive figures off? What's the secret sauce here? That brings us to Section 2, the philosophy of success, or the DNA of Toyotsu. Because to make sense of those massive numbers, we absolutely have to understand the core philosophy driving their engine. They structure their entire global operation into a sort of 4-tier conceptual hierarchy. It's brilliant, actually. At the very top, you have their unchanging fundamental ideals, the stuff that gets passed down through generations. That flows directly into a 10-year vision, which then filters into very concrete midterm business plans. And finally, the foundation holding it all up is the Toyota Tsusho Group way, the everyday bedrock values embodied by their employees, things like teamwork and just a raw passion for business. It's a hyper-focused, highly structured way to scale a global enterprise. Right at the heart of that 10-year global vision are 3 core values: life and community, resources and environment, and mobility. Every single project they take on, and I mean everything from manufacturing tiny auto parts to building massive international ports, has to align with these specific fields. It's all about ensuring they're actively contributing to a sustainable, comfortable society. Do not fear change. Enjoy it. Create it. That quote from their CEO, Ichiro Kashitani, really hits the nail on the head. They don't look at shifting global currents, things like rapid digitalization, AI, or massive supply chain relocations as threats. They see them as vital opportunities to evolve. They aren't just sitting back reacting to change, they're the ones creating it. Okay, Section 3. The Thailand Plus One strategy, redefining regional supply chains. This is where things get really interesting, seeing how that high-level philosophy translates into on-the-ground action, specifically in the ASEAN region. Think about the traditional way of manufacturing for a second. Usually, a company centralizes everything in one highly developed nation, right? Well, the Thailand Plus One strategy completely flips that model on its head. Instead of doing everything in one primary hub like Thailand, companies are transferring the labor-intensive production out to neighboring countries. Why? Because it lets them tap into dedicated, highly competitive labor forces, it slashes their operating costs, and crucially, it diversifies their supply chain risks. It's incredibly smart. When you map out the global value chains across ASEAN, you can see how intimately interlinked these countries really are. It's like a massive puzzle. Parts are produced in one nation, they get assembled in another, and then are sold across the globe. Toyota Tsusho is heavily capitalizing on this exact network to completely optimize their production efficiency. Let's zoom in a bit for Section 4, Laos production deep dive and how a strategic hub emerges. They laid out a really aggressive 15-year timeline of expansion in Laos. It's actually fascinating because they didn't just drop a massive assembly plant there overnight. No, they started small with targeted parts manufacturing in 2013. Then they became an official importer in 2018, just to test the waters of the local market. And now, they're setting up full-scale local knockdown or KD vehicle assembly for the end of the decade, meaning they'll be assembling finished vehicles right there from imported parts. If we go back to that 2013 milestone, they established a factory in the Savancino Special Economic Zone. They put in a $5.6 million investment, which created 180 local jobs, all to produce 200,000 vehicle seat covers every single year. And where did all those covers go? Straight back to Thailand for final vehicle assembly. It is the absolute perfect proof of concept for the Thailand Plus One strategy, leveraging the location and workforce of Laos to prop up their main regional hub. Building on that massive success, they recently set up TTML. By 2028, this new facility is slated to locally assemble 5,000 Hilux pickup trucks and Fortuner SUVs every single year. This is a real game changer. It shifts Laos from just being an exporter of basic parts into a fully self-sustaining local market for finished vehicles, directly meeting the surging domestic demand as the country modernizes. All right, Section 5, expanding in Africa, focusing on global infrastructure. Because this growth blueprint, it definitely isn't limited to Asia. Let's zoom way back out to the global macro scale. Back in early 2019, Toyota Tsusho signed a massive 70 billion yen comprehensive port development agreement in Angola's Namibe Bay. They partnered up with the Angolan Ministry of Transport, totally backed by Japanese financial institutions. So this isn't just about selling cars anymore. This is about literally building the physical infrastructure of international trade. And this project aligns flawlessly with their core value of supporting community life. You see, Angola is Africa's second biggest oil producer, but the country suffered through decades of civil war. So this port project is designed to help diversify their incredibly oil-reliant post-war economy. By developing Namibe, Toyota Tsusho is creating local jobs, they're spurring industrial diversification, and they're helping Angola transform into a vital transit hub for the surrounding landlocked countries. It's a total win-win for both corporate growth and national redevelopment. Which brings us to our final part, Section 6, the future of growth. What exactly is next? If we pull all these threads together, where does a giant like Toyota Tsusho actually go from here? If you look at their overarching framework, their future growth is deeply, inextricably tied to CSR, corporate social responsibility. They figured out that long-term profitability absolutely requires solving structural social problems. Whether they're contributing to a low-carbon society through huge wind and solar investments, working to eliminate traffic casualties, or growing right alongside developing nations in Africa and ASEAN, their financial success is completely locked in with sustainable global development. So, I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. As multinational giants like Toyota Tsusho physically reshape global value chains, literally moving factories, building massive international ports, and completely redefining local workforces, how is all of this going to redefine the future prosperity of emerging markets? The blueprint for Tamai Toyota Tsusho Tintaptor is crystal clear, but the long-term impact that's going to have on our global economy, now that is a fascinating story that is still being written. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember to keep questioning how the world around you is built.